I won't be the first to admit that children are kinda dumb, and their imagination creates fears that seem trivial. I mean, most kids believe that there's a monster in the closet. Of course, I don't. I know the only things in my closet is my sexuality. Get it? Oh, and a dead hook. I remember a couple of years back it became trendy to talk about your childhood fears. And since I'm completely drained for content at the moment, I thought it entertaining to take a stroll down memory lane to the things that scared me when I was but a wee lad. So these first few stories, I was really young, so if I miss any important details, it's probably because these were my parents' anecdotes mixed with my vague memory. Back in my toddler years, my neighbors had a golden retriever named Precious, a name that fit about as well as EDP in a high school locker. If you step foot in my backyard, this hellhound would unleash an array of ear-piercing deep barks mixed with growls and snarls. Like you could tiptoe through my backyard and this beast would hear you and threaten your life from across the fence. Well, Precious plays a major role in my first fear, that being dogs. I remember having this recurring dream where that dog would escape from my neighbor's yard and make its way into my backyard, just to bark through my window loudly. I specifically remember at the beginning of every one of these dreams I would hear a faint woof, 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 before it would cartoonishly leap in front of my window and bark at me. Now keep in mind, at the time I was like 4, so to a 4-year-old it made sense that a golden retriever would have some sort of vendetta against me, sitting there in its yard like,
"Man, that punk-ass 4-year-old playing in his backyard pisses me off. You know what? I'll bust in out of this joint, just to break into his yard and fuck with him."
Nevertheless, that never happened, and those neighbors were forced to move due to being foreclosed on a few years later. So suck it, dog! I get to play outside now! Get fucked, you stupid animal! Now I'm gonna pee on your lawn to God damn it. Now I'm gonna pee on your lawn to prove who's the boss. Moving on, my mom claims that when I was young, I would run out of the room and scream in terror when Elmo got mail on Sesame Street. Like the computer would flip out and inform Elmo going, "You got mail! You got mail!" All while bouncing around sporadically like it was about to shit itself. So according to my mom, I would run down the hallway screaming bloody murder anytime that dumbass mail computer entered Elmo's room. So we're hitting elementary school, where boys become bigger boys. During the summer of 2006, I went to Disney World with my mom's family. I was ecstatic for the occasion to ride all of the roller coasters there. Except that was all a lie once I realized I was 6 years old and had to ride the little kid rides for safety reasons, claiming that I had to be this tall to ride the roller coaster or else it might injure me. Apparently they didn't understand that they were located in Florida, a place where most of the kids got to ride Uncle Dave's Drunken Car Ride Home every Saturday night, a ride that's fun but isn't rated very well. So my dad had brought up a roller coaster he wanted to ride with me. I obliged my dad's request and waited in line for an at the time recently built roller coaster called Expedition Everest. After graduating high school, college, getting married, starting a family, and waiting another 8 years, we make it to the front of the line, take our seats, and prepare for mayhem. After the ride, I was a whole new man. You see, if you don't know Expedition Everest, the roller coaster takes place on a trip to the Himalayas, where a Yeti is foreshadowed throughout. You hear groans and roars all around as you trek throughout the ruins. The part where my soul left me was on the summit of the mountain, where your roller coaster comes to a screeching halt as the track before you has been shredded. I sat there like, ride's over. That's it? The roller coaster then flies backwards. This shift was enough to scare the shit out of me. I mean, 6-year-old me was thinking that roller coasters only move frontwards, but the house of mouse decided to play some fucking mind games on me as I'm careening to God knows where. We end up in another cave and finally witness our culprit's shadow. On the wall, the animation displays a beast ripping up the track, then escaping. Then, the ride ends, that's it. That fucked me up then. Apparently I was too dumb to realize what a projector was, but I was convinced that it was a real abominable snowman who was ripping up Disney World. My mom claims that I would wake up in the night and hear a Yeti's roars in the distance. Now, let's take a step back to analyze this. I was afraid of an abominable snowman attacking during the summertime in Florida. To say this fear is irrational is an understatement. If anything, a Yeti would be way more afraid of Floridan people than I am of it. Shit, I'm afraid of Floridan people. In the year of our Lord 2006, I was in 1st grade. After conquering my plight against the Yeti, another obstacle stood in my way. Educational computer games.
How hard do you want to be? Okay, I'll say it. I'm impressed.
Allow me to explain. When I was in 1st grade, our teacher let us have computer time. During this hour or so of learning, we would be subject to a myriad of educational minigames. Things that taught you spelling, counting, reading, among other things you teach a 6-year-old. Of course, I'd prefer this time to be dedicated to Helltaker or Minecraft, but apparently flirting with demons and collecting ender pearls aren't seen as necessary for growth. We truly live in a society. Back on topic, most of the games were fine for me, except one. This game started simple enough. You were placed in an empty room, looking directly at a chair. Next to it was a machine that tasked you with solving a simple problem. Something like matching the letter with the rest of the word or something. The moment you answered 3 correctly is when I would shit my pants. You see, that chair I brought up earlier had a purpose. After answering 3 questions, thunder would blare in your eardrums, accompanied by lightning flashing across the screen. Once the cutscene stopped, Frankenstein's monster would be sat upon the chair and stare you dead in the eyes. Okay, it wasn't that scary. Cartoon smiled at you. But I mean, the man just teleports in after a thunderstorm and smiles at you like he owns the place. Let me tell you, Frankenstein just appearing out of thin air after a loud noise and bright flashing lights was 6-year-old me's version of a jump scare. Scaring me to the point where I told my parents about it, who then told me to tell the teacher, who just insults first grade me by saying, "When that game comes up, ask one of our top students to clear it for you." One problem, teach. The top students were girls. I, a manly man who wakes up in the morning doing 200 push-ups with my massive dick alone, refuses to employ the use of gross, cootie-ridden Barbie doll collecting females to clear a game. I may have tried it one more time before asking the top student to clear it for me. We were using 2006 headphones with computers who believe Clinton is still president and that the only thing under his desk are his feet. So, the thunder was not only loud, but had the frequency of someone eating a bag of Ruffles next to your ear. I threw in the towel and had the girls complete the Scary game for me.
Shiver my timbers! Shut up!
I don't want to get too deep into this, but there's a part in Courage the Cowardly Dog that not only kept me awake for one night, but stopped me from watching the show ever again. All I'm gonna say is, Violin Girl.
I just know something bad is going to happen. Huh?
I don't really have much to say on this, but what didn't help was that I was like 2 feet away from the TV and watching this right before bedtime. I'm gonna skip a few grades to grade 4. I caught my dad watching a show on Animal Planet which looked peculiar. It was titled Lost Tapes. And anyone born around my time will begin to laugh, as you can relate to how scary this show was when you're below the age of 12. I watched a few re-uploads, and fear is the last emotion I felt watching this. What didn't help was the aged CGI and the actors and actresses hired via fast food drive-thru. Nevertheless, I was 8 years old watching the episode going over the Chupacabra, aka the Goat Sucker, a mangy beast who latches its fangs onto your livestock and drains the blood from their neck. Now, because a peeved farmer tired of his livestock dying would have been a somewhat underwhelming pilot episode, Lost Tapes focuses on a family attempting to get across the Mexican border, but their coyote ditches them in the desert. At night, they trek the dark desert until they hear snarling, and then are chased by the Chupacabra. All around, I was pretty traumatized after watching this show, especially at a specific scene. I mean, looking at this now, it's hilarious. I mean, that green screen, oh, I'm sorry, the Chupacabra running is downright hilarious to watch now. And also how dedicated that actor was to eating dirt in the next scene is beautiful. But 9-year-old me was downright terrified at the concept of this creature, for some reason. I mean, as I brought up earlier, it mostly goes after livestock. As a resident of suburban California, the only thing I'm farming is EXP in Raid Shadow Legends, a free-to-play mobile game that is taking over the entire world. No, I'm playing. It's true though. Every night I'd get a nightmare where, while asleep, this goat sucker would find my house, jump over the back fence, use my dog door, and sneak into my house to suck my blood. Over the course of a couple months, I just slowly got over it. Like, at first I was scared to sleep, then it just became me afraid to go outside at night, and after 60 days of no Chupacabra sightings, and my parents debunking all possible ways Chupacabra could attack me, I started to accept that my fear is irrational. So, was that the last time I was ever afraid of something supernatural for a long period of time? Do yourself a favor and look at the video length. Yep, sit tight, only 2 more stories to go. In grade 5, in the middle of my class, was a box of books that my teacher let me sift through. Little did she know this would kickstart 2 more months of hell for my family. You see, there was a small picture book inside there that intrigued me. A book all about alleged alien abductions throughout history. It specifically talked about Barney and Betty Hill, a couple who claims to have been abducted and experimented on by extraterrestrial beings while going on an impromptu vacation. It went into full detail about what kind of experiments were run on them. They claimed that they had forgotten each grueling event until a psychiatrist pulled the memories out of their repressed minds. The tests were your usual alien affair, being samples and needles and whatnot. And this national story helped shape the image of alien behavior as we know it today, probing and needles and such. As I studied this like 30-page book deeper and deeper, I was hooked. And that night, say it with me now, I couldn't sleep well. Yep, bingo, I was now deathly afraid of the extraterrestrial. I'll give myself this. Between this and the other two superstitious frights I've had, aliens the most likely not only to exist, but be in my area. Hell, my area is in the middle of California's Triangle Alley, which is so famous to UFO sighting enthusiasts that it was featured on History Channel's UFO Hunters.
It was June 15, 2004, when I was here on that balcony right there with you. We were looking at the sky up there, and you videotaped a real triangle during daylight hours.
Oh my God. I've got 3 lights in a triangular formation.
Are you sure?
Yes, this is, oh my God.
I was right there next to him, and I was fumbling with my camera, but by the time I got everything up and running, this thing was gone.
But to say my fear of aliens became extreme would be an understatement. Anytime a noise went by my window, aliens. Weird light in the sky, aliens. My toy being moved when I don't remember moving it? My mom did just walk in my room, but let's play it safe and blame it on aliens. I was so out of control with my fear of the space critters, I couldn't function in school with the constant threat of the extraterrestrial over me. Like I would gaze at the window, prepared for some tentacle space creature to burst through like,
"Shut the fuck up, I will fucking laser you with alien fucking eyes and explode your fucking head."
It got to the point where I myself believed that I was an alien. I crafted this origin story where, while my mom was asleep, an alien beamed a fetus into her, and they've been tracking her to see how an alien-human hybrid would work. Since I cracked the code, I decided to report my findings to my mom, who was, unimpressed to say the least. We quarreled in the kitchen for a bit, as I wholeheartedly believed this story of mine was an absolute fact. The last straw for my parents came when I would report getting terrible stomach aches when going out into the public. School, church, restaurants, whatever. I would always have a sinking, nauseous feeling beforehand. One day, my mom took me to the doctor's office to see if they could discern any sort of cause. That's when a mutant space worm burst out of my chest, screeching, "Take me to your leader." Again, I'm kidding. Nope, turns out my paranoia had gotten so out of hand that I was becoming afraid to go into the public, fearing that I'd get abducted and experimented on. On the surface, my mom was calm and collected. But once we got back into the car, she shed that demeanor real fast. She was fuming all the way home, loudly going on about if an alien wanted me dead, I'd have already died. For 20 minutes straight, she scolded me non-stop about how I'd turned into a rambling conspiracy nut by the age of 10. If you think there's a grand ending to the shit show, there isn't. Over the next couple of weeks afterwards, I just accepted that if there are aliens, they aren't going to try and kill me. Now, this next fear, I'm 100% embarrassed by to this day. Like, I debated even including this in the video. But, I'm an honest man. And sometimes, honesty brings pain. When I was 12, I had a deep, irrational fear of Sonic.EXE. Yes, the fucking scary Sonic creepypasta with writing that would be failed as an elementary school English paper. I mean, at least the other 3 big fear phases I went through, those had a chance to exist. There are people who believe the Yeti exist. There are people who believe chupacabras exist. There are people who believe aliens exist. Hell, I wish some of them existed. You think she's into chubby white guys? But not a single man, woman, or child on planet Earth believes Sonic.EXE exists. Here's the weird part though. I knew he didn't exist, and I knew he couldn't hurt me, but I was still scared of him. It amazes me sometimes that I was never held back in school. Back when I was 12 years old, I watched Tat's Top Video's Top 40 Video Game Creepypastas. And going from number 40 to 4, most of them were underwhelming. Like, little Timmy decides to boot up his pirated copy of Honey Pop. But little did he know, he downloaded it on ancient burial grounds. So when it loaded up, it was actually gay porn with hyper-realistic blood thrown somewhere in there. But once it hit number 3, I was still bored. My patience then is unrivaled, really. At this point, I was almost 30 minutes into a video I had no interest in. I didn't even know what a creepypasta was. I probably sat through 20 minutes wondering when they were going to talk about spaghetti. And it's number 3, and I'm sitting there kind of waiting for it to end until the narrator says, "When all 3 characters are dead, the game crashes." The screen at this point went completely black, like my computer just shut off. I'm up looking at the screen like what just happened, when boom! A super cheesy but super detailed face of evil Sonic appears. I was horrified. It was just a shitty jump scare, that's it. But that really got to me. For a while after that, I just kept thinking of that bastard hedgehog. It's like I said, I knew he didn't exist, but I would always think, but what if he did though? and it worked flawlessly every time. His small, beady red eyes would always display a grotesque expression every time I imagined him. I remember for a bit being afraid to choose Sonic's alternate costumes in Brawl just in case Sonic.EXE popped up as one of them. Like my copy of Brawl from the local Walmart was going to be haunted or something. This imaginary beast haunted me for months after that creepypasta video. Unlike the other times though, the fear actually had an interesting ending. So one night while sleeping, I had this nightmare that Sonic.EXE was chasing me in this bright red room with no discernible objects. Towards the end, I trip over and start pleading for my life, while he catches up. Finally, he makes his way over, looming over my body, getting ready to kill me. Until I shit you not, Kratos from God of War goes up behind him, grabs him, then rips his fucking head off in front of me. On God, when I woke up, I stopped being afraid of Sonic.EXE after witnessing my PlayStation All-Stars main decapitate him in front of me. I don't remember much more than that, but I like to imagine that same dream he just tosses the head to me saying, "Here you go, kid," before adorning a pair of sunglasses and walking off into a random sunset. My eyes start to glisten as tears begin to make their way out as I say, "Thanks, Kratos." So what did we learn today? 1. Don't be an idiot. 2. Think before you fear. And 3. Subconscious violence solves everything. If you like this video, why not give it a like, or hell, maybe even subscribe for more video game content / whatever the fuck is on my mind. And with that, thank you for watching.